Well, on our side of the ball, it's all about returning starters, seniors, a lot of experience on our side of the ball. I think our quarterback's the best player in this conference after watching all the film and watching him the past few years. We're deep at running back. We've got 3 running backs that we feel like are all starters. We've got a tight end that's played, multiple tight ends that have played a lot of ball up front. 4 starters out of the 5 are seniors, and all 5 of them are returning starters. And then at the wide receiver position, we have 4 seniors that are all starters. So very, very deep and experienced on our side of the ball. Played a lot of games, a lot of big games, won a lot of games. Can't say enough good stuff about them. And we got a bunch of young kids that we're working with, and we got to start getting them ready, because in a year, all of a sudden, we go from being very experienced to very young.
Our first question is from David Ware from 24/7 Sports.
Tony, good to see you again. I guess the question for you is a little different than maybe some of the coaches, because, like you said, you've got a lot of guys back on offense. You're the new guy.
Right.
When it's come to, for you, you've been in a lot of different places, seen some different schemes and things. For you, what's it been like integrating yourself into a group of offensive players who know each other so well, and how easy has their familiarity with one another made your job of installing what your offensive vision is?
Well, I give credit to Coach Clark. When I came in on my interview, we talked about it. We both agreed that what App State needs to do is keep running App State's offense. So much easier for me to learn their offense than them learn a new offense that I've run. I've run a lot of different offenses. You can call things a lot of different things, but football's still football. This is very similar to the situation I was in for 8 years at Minnesota, where we were an 11 and 12 personnel team. We ran inside and outside zone, play action, a lot of big plays off the run game. And what we're going to do is what we've done well here. They've been doing it forever. So I think myself and Coach Clark made it very easy on our players. So it was easy for me to pick up on it. I came in and kind of more learned their offense than them learning mine. Obviously, we're going to have some different things, some tweaks that we do moving forward, but we kind of look at it, this is going to be App State's offense, and it wasn't a deal where I needed to come in and make a wholesale change. They had players, they had a good scheme, and they've been doing a great job.
And then, you touched on depth in several different position groups, especially receiver, running back, the skill position groups. As you've been also integrating yourself with the rest of the offensive staff, what have you guys talked about relative to having so much talent available and creating an active rotation that's getting everybody reps? I mean, at the end of the day, there are only so many snaps in a football game. So, how do you try to make sure you've got the familiarity with your primary people, but you're also working some of the guys that maybe have a little less game experience into that rotation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit tougher. I was listening to Dale. On the defensive side of the ball, typically defenses play a lot more players than offenses do. You go into a game, and unless a game really gets out of control, I mean, your 5 offensive linemen are your 5 offensive linemen. Your quarterback's not coming out of the game. Your wideouts are your wideouts. Now, we'll play a lot of running backs. We're always going to have at least 3 to 5 running backs ready to go. But it's a little different than defense. It's not like you just all of a sudden take your D-line out and put the young guys in for a series. You don't do that on offense very often. Now, hopefully we get some situations and some games where we can get as many young guys in as possible, but what they do on defense just doesn't happen as easy on the offensive side of the ball.
Next up, we have Ethan Joyce from the Winston-Salem Journal.
Yeah, I got a couple questions for you. First, I guess just to dovetail off David's a little bit, he's asking about how you kind of fit yourself into that App State offense that you were talking about. But as far as kind of getting into this fall camp, is there something that you're really going to be looking for, a couple things you're going to be looking for right away as far as, I'm seeing this and I like that as far as what I want to do in this offense?
You know what? I mean, we're trying to make sure that all these seniors have the best year of their career and really fine tuning any little thing that we can make better with them. We're trying to spend as much time on the young guys. For us, camp right now is about spending as much time with practice with the young guys and developing them when we can, and then finding that, those little things, those little things we want to add to the offense, get them in early in camp, and make sure we hash out all the bugs on them and the kids pick them up, and it also works off what our offense does. So we've got 3 or 4 different things we're really looking at right there, and we're going to start spending some time on that right away.
Remember when we talked in the spring just about kind of developing those young QBs? What kind of wrinkle has it added to just trying to develop that repertoire with them and just kind of initiate that development when you're dealing with so many things that have come off of COVID-19 with all the digital meetings and maybe not as much interaction to start off as you probably would have liked?
You talking about with the quarterbacks?
Yeah, with the younger quarterbacks specifically.
Yeah, and you know what's hard right now with us is my starting quarterback's a senior and my backup's a senior, and they've both been here for a long time. And it's hard now to start seriously working a third and fourth quarterback. It doesn't happen. And so I'm going to be in a situation where really that position's not going to truly start developing probably until next spring, because you don't have the reps to start working third and fourth quarterbacks. So I've got to make sure that Zach gets the reps he needs. I got to make sure Jacob is ready to go. And I can't say I can never say enough good stuff about Jacob Huseman. To be a senior, to be a good enough player to play at this level, and to stay around here with the way things go nowadays, a guy like him would transfer away from a lot of schools. So he is a great kid, great player. Trying to spend a lot of time and get him ready, and then anything I can do with those young guys as far as film and meetings and getting a few reps here and there, I'm trying to develop them. But it's tough to go too much beyond 2 quarterbacks in camp.
Next up, we have David Rogers from the Blowing Rock News.
About the young player development, specifically, David Baldwin Griffith, came in kind of, much heralded, I guess you'd say, as a freshman and so forth, and of course he's been kind of biding his time. How is he and Jackson Gibbs and so forth developing?
You know what? They're doing okay. They're not getting the reps that they'd probably like to get, and if I was trying to get them ready, they're just not getting those reps. What they have to do is sit back there like me, and they got to get mental reps. And it's not easy. It's something you got to lock in on and make sure you're getting your reps. You got to lock in meetings. They got to try and learn the system the best they can from back there. And that's just college football. That's I was in camp a long time ago with the Vikings, and I was the 4th quarterback, and I didn't get hardly any reps. But I did the best I could back there to try and learn the system and get better at it from watching behind and in the meeting rooms. And that's what they've got to do right now. So I wish there was enough reps for 4 quarterbacks. That's just, if you want to have quarterbacks playing at a high level, they need reps, and you got reps for 2 quarterbacks basically, and sometimes a third a little bit.
Next up, we have Kenneth Reese from Watauga Online.
Hey, Coach. I had asked the head coach about this, about the possibility of the lack of fans in the stands, or maybe not as many fans in the stands. From an offensive play calling perspective, how are you concerned about that at all? Are you concerned about the fact that the defense may easily pick up on your play calls much faster, than in a normal season?
I don't think so. I mean, I've played in plenty of stadiums. I've been in Michigan, Ohio State. I mean, I've been in some big-time stadiums that have been loud and called plays. And then I've been at Rice before where, you could hear the crickets. I mean, there's, 2,000 people. It doesn't affect how I call a game. I'm going to be in the press box like I always am. With the way you signal and everything nowadays, and the tempo that you go, I don't think it's really going to affect anything. I think sometimes, you could probably, I guess defenses, sometimes you could get some defensive coaches that could be yelling from the sideline, and with a lot less fans in the crowd, I could see where they could yell out and maybe do a little bit of communicating. But, you start trying to communicate too much with kids right as that ball's snapped, you could have some issues there too. So there'll be a little bit, but I don't see it affecting really how we do things.
Thanks, Coach.
We have another one from David Ware at 24/7.
Tony, it is such a veteran offense, and you addressed how challenging it can be to get everybody, significant reps, even in practice sometimes. But as you've had a chance to be around the team and the interaction that's going on over the last couple of weeks, are there any of the younger guys that have kind of jumped off the page at you and impressed you with maybe not so much their experience and their knowledge yet, but just their sheer physical skills?
We got a freshman receiver, Horn, that has a great look to his body, and he can fly. I mean, he can go. Now he's swimming a little bit mentally, just because you're in there trying to get reps and learn the offense. And then Nate, our young running back, he can fly too. So you talk about two kids that when I saw them in there and saw them running, which is what this program's about. It's about speed. We've got to have speed on the field, and those two guys are two young ones that can really go.
Do we have any more questions for Coach Petersen?
Are those young guys as fast as Jalen Virgil?
They say Verge is really fast, and he's as fast as he needs to be out there. And I've watched him a little bit, and he can really run. I doubt they've got his type of track speed, but when you watch them play football speed out there, I mean, I think they're going to be close. I'd hate to sit there and say yes, and I'm wrong, but both of those kids can fly. I think everybody, when they get their opportunities, whether it's this year or next year, I think everybody's going to be impressed with those two young players.
Well, I think that wraps up our coaches portion of the virtual media day. Coach, thank you for joining us, and we will come back with you guys at 3:30 with some student athletes.
Appreciate you guys. Be safe.